Greensboro friends who knew a murdered homeless man aren't letting his spirit or his unsolved case fade. Tonight they held a second vigil for Lanceford Williams, who was well known to many who live and work downtown. Also there tonight, his brother and sister, who say they spent 20 years looking for him, only to learn where he was after he died. They shared their grief with WFMY News 2's Denise McMillan.
Every person living on the streets has a story. Lanceford Williams was no different. He and his 6 siblings were split up when their mom and grandmother died in 1994. Nearly 30 years later, they're coming back together in the worst way, to bury their brother.
I want them to the parish.
This is Lance Williams' brother and sister. It was emotional.
I just got weak in the knees.
And hard for them to share their story with me.
And he was loved.
For 20 years, they say, they searched for their brother. In 2012, Lance's brother says he found out Lance was in jail, but his efforts to connect with his brother were unsuccessful. There was another misconnection when Lance was released, but his brother was behind bars.
And he reached out to my wife, but I was in jail. I couldn't do nothing. I was in jail and I couldn't do nothing, and that was the last time anybody ever had contact with my brother.
Lance battled with homelessness for 2 decades until March 1st when someone shot and killed him on MLK Drive in Greensboro.
I want them to burn for what they did to my brother because he didn't deserve it.
Be punishment. There's been like a very empty absence on McGee Street since that day.
Brandy Collins Calhoun met Lance a decade ago during her time bartending in downtown Greensboro.
Lance did get housing recently. And I remember we were talking and he was like, Brittany, I got a place, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, well, congrats, boo.
Anthony Morgan was also a close friend of Lance's. He organized a GoFundMe to get Lance's family to Greensboro to give him a proper burial.
For us to set a goal of $7,500 and within 5 days we've been able to accomplish that, it speaks to a bigger issue. You know, it speaks to the fact that we had the resources the whole time to establish a foundation for Lance, you know, and to give him the resources that he needed to go to the next level and to survive and to not be killed by gun violence.
Lance's brother says Guilford County failed his family and wants to see more efforts to help the homeless community.
There's veterans out here. You got homeless people out here. My brother homeless. You know what I mean? You got all this money. Do for the homeless. You walk by them every day. Y'all talk about y'all love my brother, this, that, and the third. What if y'all love him? Why was he still out there in the streets? Y'all reached out to my sister, you know what I mean, when he got killed or whatever. But what about when he was alive? Y'all had access to her then.
Now, Guilford County has started a homelessness task force. County leaders say the goal is to create a holistic approach to address the issue of homelessness.